Hello out there, Facebook, internet world. This is Oliver with Half Measures Room. First vlog I've done in quite some time. Uh, yeah, to tell you the truth, I was at a meeting and someone I know that's got about the same sobriety time as I do was talking to me about the website and the blogging. He's never checked it out before. It's something new for him. And we talked about the radio show that I used to do. For some of you that don't know, I was a host of the Half Measures Room radio show on blogtalkradio.com. I was very happy with that for a while. I do have some troubles financially and had to leave, and then I came back for a couple months, and things got really bad for me, so I had to shut it down. Um, you can always go back to the Blog Talk Radio Half Measures Room page and listen to some of the shows that they're still live and current for you to listen to. And it's something that was always true about the Half Measures Room radio show was most of the people that listened to it did it afterwards. There was only a handful of you that listened to it while it was going on, and occasionally people would call in and talk about the topics that we covered. And it's something that I truly miss, and I don't want to give up. Someday I may pick the radio show back up, and I will be sure to let you know. But blogging is always been at the heart of Half Measures Room, that and 12-step recovery. Writing for me was something that I started back in high school. I was a creative writer. I did a lot of poetry. I also did some short stories that I was extremely proud of at the time. Of course, I was using getting loaded, so most of this stuff was very questionable and didn't have a lot of validity to it. Something my dad kept reminding me of was that the best authors in the world, the best writers, wrote about stuff that actually happened to them. Things that they actually went through, even if it was fictional or not, made up stories. There was always some relevance and some reality behind it to back up the writing. So blogging was something that I turned to rather easily, and it's something I want to continue to do. I know my blogging hasn't been as often as it has in the past. So something I've always been upset about is the MySpace ending. I know it's still around, but it's not something that people are really into as much these days. They're all about Facebook, and then with MySpace they had this. It wasn't like a news feed, but it was like a I don't know, a little box near the bottom left hand corner that had updates of what people were posting in their blogs, and people could go into my blog box and comment, and we could have discussions, and almost like it was like having a meeting. And that was the whole point of the Half Measures Room on MySpace for me. Facebook was completely different. I could write blogs, and I could post them up on my news feed, but they weren't very applicable. People couldn't pick up on them as quickly as they could at MySpace. I could attach several friends, but only up to like 40 or 50 people to the actual blog, which really defeated my purpose in the blogging, seeing as I have over 1,500 friends on Facebook. So that was very disappointing to me, and that was the whole reason behind the creation of the actual web page for Half Measures Room, as the focal point. Facebook for me is just the jumping off place for that type of activity, and speaking of things. But like I was mentioning, at meetings, that's something I really like to do. Is there are people that I've known for a long time in that program that have lots of sobriety, 10, 15, 20 years, and I still stay in close contact with them. But it's also very important for me to develop a fellowship of people that have the same amount of time. And this gentleman that I was speaking to was was interested in the radio show. Really liked the blogging and what I had to do, and he told me that there was some people on YouTube that have become famous and built a career and are now very well off because of the videos they've been posting. And I can't remember the name of this guy that he mentioned, but he said that this man, this host of this YouTube program, was a lot like me. It reminded him of me on the radio show, and he suggested that I try doing vlogs on YouTube. So that's kind of what this is about. This is kind of the beginning of, I don't know how often I'll be doing this and how much I'll be talking about stuff. But I figured this would possibly be a good start, seeing how many people are interested in hearing about 12-step recovery. For those of you that don't know anything about Half Measures Room, Half Measures Room is there's many reasons behind the name, but originally it was for those of you that do 10, 12-step programs and fellowships. It's that place at the meeting house, in between the coffee bar and the actual meeting room, where people hang out. In 12-step meetings, there's a lot of discussion. People share their own experience, strength, and hope. What it was like when they were getting loaded, what happened that made them want to stop, and what it's like now that they've stayed sober for a period of time. And they talk about the 12-step program according to the topic that the chairperson provides them with. And they'll speak, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 minutes, hopefully. That's usually kind of the rules of the meeting setting. And then they'll pass it on to the next person. But there's some people that just aren't real comfortable sharing in meetings, and I'm one of them now. I used to share a lot in meetings, but since my head injury, my personality's altered some. I'm getting a lot better. I'm returning back to normal. As people have said, it's been a year since my accident. And if you don't know much about my accident, you can look back on my webpage to read through some of the blogs over the past several months. And I think I've talked about it a little bit. I don't really want to go into it much here today. But I just don't really share in meetings anymore. I just try to listen, which is also something that's been very hard for me to do. Half the time I don't really like what people say or how they're saying it. I think they're full of it, or they just don't have the solution. They talk about the problem more. And this has become such a problem for me during that. They have a moment of silence before the meeting begins, where we say the Serenity Prayer, and where we ask for the courage and the wisdom, and what the difference is between the things we have control over and things we do not have control over. And I know I don't have any control over other people, and I have very limited control over myself. As far as my actions go, I believe I have some control. There is this thing we call self-will. The things I have very limited control over is my feelings, my thoughts, and my sometimes my reactions. So in that time of silence before we have the meeting and we say that prayer, I ask my higher power for help in removing my judgments of other people, so that I can better hear His message. Because I think I said this in the last blog piece I wrote. I don't hear my higher power speaking to me from the heavens. I hear Him through you people at the meeting place, or close friends of mine, family that talk to me and give me help and hope and good guidance. So that's very important for me. I really don't know where I was going with that. There was something I wanted to blog about. I just haven't really gotten to a good place to do it yet. I've been without a job for a couple months now, and it's been a big part of my life. In the morning after I do my devotionals and my prayers, I I go through my emails. It's like the very first thing I do because I'm doing this job search. Apparently, I did qualify for one job in particular, which I started the training for this week. Um, just a few short days. I also have some other work with court reporting where I can go to certain counties around here and into the courts and some of the clerk's offices to take documents for mortgages, marriages, births, and I give this information that I document either on the computer or through writing, depending on what I can bring into these rooms, and give them give this information to clients who use it for sales and marketing purposes is what they use it for. And it's a court reporting agency that has these different clients. Anyway, that's besides the point, really. If you're looking for a job, the internet's a good place to start. You can post your resume and things of that nature. Have online interviews if you have a webcam like I do. You'll have a chance to do some online interviews instead of actually leaving the house and going speaking to someone in person. You'll be doing it through the camera, which is almost, if not more, difficult than a real life interview. Anyway, back to 12-step recovery. I like to read my big book, my 12-12, the NA books, the Bible. Uh, anything that's spiritually concerned about making me a better person. I like to read it. Richard Rohr does some really good stuff online. You can have a devotional sent to you. My sponsor is the one that introduced me to Richard Rohr. Richard Rohr is mostly Christian, but it's not a particular denominational Christian literature, and he occasionally talks about 12-step recovery and the program itself, which is awesome. And I just really like he takes quotes from different places, kind of like what I do with my blog, and devotes each week to a certain topic, and that's something I really like. If you're interested in that, I'll try to post a link to that with this video clip on the halfmeasuresroom.com. But today I just wanted to show this. This is called Just for Today. For some of you that don't know, that's one of the slogans that we use in our 12-step meetings. This is from the Al-Anon family group. It's a bookmark, which is what really sparked my attention. I like looking at pamphlets as well when I go into the meeting house and go to the coffee bar right after getting my cup of joe. I turn around and start looking at the pamphlets. I find all kinds of really good, interesting things. I just want to read a few off of here, and I'll probably, next time I blog, I'll probably copy and paste some of this into my blog pieces. That's something I really like to do now, is having some visual art in my blogging pieces rather than just the writing. I think it really sparks people's attention quicker rather than just reading paragraphs of stuff that I've written. The internet's a wild beast these days. People just don't seem to have enough attention to read something like a newspaper. They got to have some kind of visual, and that's why I think these vlogs hopefully will start sparking a little more interest in people. I know that Half Measures Room only attracts a certain crowd. I'm not out to be a host and talk about the world outside. I'm trying to leave the outside issues as they may be, and concentrate more on drug addiction and alcoholism and the solutions and the treatment that's available out there in the 12-step program. Anyway, it says, just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle all my problems at once. I can do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt that I had to keep it up for a lifetime. And that's something I've been talking a lot about lately, especially when I do find a chance to share in in meetings. I don't really like to speak very much during that hour of my day. I like to listen more. Um, but the stuff that I have had an opportunity to talk about is, that this is really less of a program and more of a way of life. Um, that meeting that we attend for court reasons or to stay away from the drink or drug is just 1 hour out of our day. There's 23 more that we have to endure and follow a particular pattern and way of life and actions and tools in order to stay sober and lead a new path in how we're living. See, one more just for today. I will try to strengthen my mind. I will study. I will learn something useful, and I will not be a mental loafer. I will read something that requires effort, thought, and concentration. Very good. You know, something I've always liked about the big book that Bill Wilson had helped writing was that part where it talked about has a list of things that we would try to do to stay sober that didn't work, and one of them was reading inspirational books, which is very interesting. Coming from a big book, which we call the textbook, the original manuscript of the 12-step program. But reading that alone is not enough to keep me sober. There are actions that I have to take. Looking at the 12-step program, the first 3 steps, which are vitally important. I really can't go through the other 11 until I've taken the first step. If the first step doesn't meet, my requirement, my approval, there's really no sense in me going any further or even pursuing help through a 12-step program because I don't feel like I am powerless enough. I feel like I still have enough power to do this thing on my own. So actions, I think, are the primary source of treatment and recovery in 12-step life. The first 3 steps are ideals, admissions, and decisions that we make, but it isn't really until we start at step 4 that we actually begin taking some action. Step 3 talks about this making a decision to turn our will and our lives over to that power other than human that we believe is going to help us to remain sober and stay away from the drink and the drug. Step 4, I believe, personally, is that beginning of turning my will and my life over. I really don't know what God's will is, but I do know that what my own will has been, and I know that it cannot continue on that way. Because of the power that I've lost to manage my own life and stay sober. I'm gonna have to pick something else, start something somewhere new. So I think going back in that 4 step and looking back at all the things that I've done wrong, the ways I've felt, and the ways I've thought that have caused that trouble is really just the starting point. And looking towards what's in other people's interest as far as making that life better. Thank you all. I about spent 20 minutes here. That's probably a little longer than I expected or than anybody else expected. I don't know when this next vlog will happen. Um, but here's to you and your new life and how you're carrying on.